Those of you who've been following my channel for some time now know that I had a mentorship in beekeeping for 15 years before I ever went off on my own, which is an unusual thing. Hardly anyone ever apprentices anything, much less beekeeping, and it gave me a great advantage that I didn't understand at the time, because now that I am where I am 23 years later and find myself wanting to help beginners kind of surpass that huge learning curve that beekeeping offers, I find that I didn't have quite as many struggles as they did, because I didn't start beekeeping with the intention of being a beekeeper. It was just a job. Gave me a little bit of spending money for gas and snacks. So now that I find myself as a mentor and a guide, I call my YouTube channel the Hive Doctor, and that's just a catchy little thing I came up with. It's not boasting anything miraculous. It's just a catchy little thing to kind of let people know that I have struggled and I have found a solution to a lot of those struggles, and I can help. One of those ways that I try to help is visually through these YouTube channels, but also I wrote a book. It took about a year to do so. Ooh, that looks good. And the book, in the title, doesn't suggest anything for beginner beekeepers. One day I was kind of wondering, I wonder why my book isn't in the top whatever for beekeeping books when people look it up online or on Amazon. And I figured out the majority of beekeeping books that come up are the ones that have the word beginner in the title. Well, my book is for beginners as well, but it seems that beekeeping is kind of stuck in a place for beginners. And I don't mean that we don't need them. I mean, we can't be beginners forever. So it made me start questioning my teaching style. Like, what is my goal in beekeeping when it comes to teaching others? And I think I finally figured it out. It is to help beekeepers, to help beginners, but not just that. It's to help those beginners move past the beginner stage and take their beekeeping literally to another level. I mean, technically you could categorize it as beginner beekeeping, intermediate, and advanced. And I definitely dabble in advanced beekeeping methods, and I choose the ones that suit my purposes. When it comes to teaching beekeeping, I don't so much teach the advanced stuff, because my goal is to bring beginners past the beginning stage so they can start to enjoy it and know what they're doing, and not always be guessing at what they're doing, kind of stabbing at it, hoping that it works. And some of the challenges I'm finding for beginners is that whether they're learning by the books or they're watching a bunch of YouTube videos like this one, they form a lot of opinions on how beekeeping should be based on what these other guys are showing them. And that's fine. We all need to find our own way, and we glean ideas from other people who have been there and done that. But just like anything, the danger is closing your mind to more possibilities and other ways of doing things. Beekeepers can be one of the most creative, inventive group of people I have ever known. And they can also be one of the most pig-headed, closed-minded group of people I've ever known. And for a while that made me not want to really talk bees or do anything beekeeping with other beekeepers for a long time, because everyone just wanted to talk about the way they do things, which is the right way, of course. So beekeeping can be kind of controversial in its methods, and I get that. We've got so many different climates, so many different results, and each beekeeper's got a different experience level. But I really feel like the best way to decide your beekeeping style and method is to try it on your own. Figure out what works and what doesn't work. And then look to the guys on YouTube and make a decision whether you think that that method is going to be for you or not. Some people like chemical treatments in their hives. Some people don't want to touch the stuff. Some people don't even want to use organic treatments in their beehives. I don't do chemical treatments. I do natural stuff. I practice and teach minimally invasive beekeeping methods because I believe the bees are designed to do a lot on their own, and the less that we intervene, the more they're able to prosper, which means that we've got to know when to intervene and why we're doing it, having a goal in mind. So just to give you guys some ideas of ways that you could start moving from beginner to past that, whatever that means for you, intermediate, whatever, a label doesn't matter. But to work past the struggling part of beekeeping is to start practicing things like making splits. Do your research, find out what a colony needs to make a successful split. I had a guy once ask me for my help to make a split out of his hive, and I told him I would, but he never called me. And then the next time I heard from him, he was telling me how his splits didn't work out and they all died. Well, he didn't know that you had to put frames of brood in the splits so that the splits would make their own queens. He just split off frames of honey. So no wonder they died. And it could have been prevented had he just actually followed through with getting my help like he was asking. Some other ways to try to work past the struggling level of beekeeping would be to look for some books that don't have the word beginner on the cover. I'm not saying that they don't have their place. Just try to branch out from those, because you're going to get the same old information over and over again. And that might be okay if you're the type of person like me. Sometimes I need that repetitive reminder to see the same old stuff before it finally catches on. But beekeeping really is a hands-on, experiential-based learning trade. And when you get out of that shell and that bubble, you start to expose yourself to more, to new, to different. And all of that has got to be a good thing. It may spark some idea or inspiration in you that even experienced beekeepers haven't thought of yet. You never know where you can take it. I have one more colony in need of a brood frame of capped brood to bump up their population before I give them their medium honey super as a brood chamber. Oh, this one's heavy. That's good. Hello, girls. I'm only going to be here for a second. I require your assistance. Let's see. I remember also in the beginning, one of the most fun things I did was just to sit in front of a beehive and watch the bees come and go and see what color pollen they were bringing in. And that would help me understand what was blooming at the time and what the color of the pollen was of certain plants. That way I didn't have to actually see those plants blooming to know that they were. This is one of my Varroa control frames, in case you're wondering. There's no eggs in this. They'll build it out later and it'll probably be full of Varroa since it's drone comb on the bottom. I'll come along and scrape that off. Okay, some capped brood, a little bit capped brood. A possible candidate to take. Mostly open brood. Another thing you can do to try to move up and level up, get past that struggling period of beginner, is to look for videos of some of these commercial beekeepers. And I'm a commercial beekeeper that I sell bees, but what I mean is the guys who run huge operations, like the Canadian Beekeeper's blog on YouTube. He's a thinker. He very quickly tests his ideas to find out if it's going to work or not, and he's good at it. And it may not be your goal, of course, to go that big, but these guys that work on a bigger scale think on a bigger scale. And so there's no reason why some of these methods that have to be applied to hundreds and even thousands of beehives won't work for you in your 2 or 10 or 20 beehives. I like that everyone watches my channel, but the goal is to hopefully give you ideas that you haven't thought of and to kind of skip some of the mistakes that you don't need to make in order to enjoy and learn beekeeping and be successful at it. I'm going to take this one. Again, checking for a queen. It's not a huge frame of capped brood, but it'll do. Shake a few more of these workers. Double checking for that queen. She's not here. I've already put the frame of brood in that smaller colony. Their replacement frame isn't completely drawn out like on the previous one, so I'm just going to make this an outside frame, and they'll eventually get to it. And as their resources start coming in more so towards the nectar flow, they'll finish drawing this out without any problem at all. And that gives me an opportunity to move this frame in, which is more fully drawn out, and the queen will start laying in this much more quickly than she would have otherwise. All right, so that one to the outside. This one's got a little bit of open nectar, plenty of bees on it. Second frame in, nice and slow. Don't want to roll any bees. Okay, they're done. Pollen patty in place. Smoke them down a little bit. That's it for today in this yard. I put up my pollen patties, and I'm going to encourage you to follow those ideas I gave you to try to level up. And of course, my own book, I want to let you know, I know more about it because I wrote it, but it is designed for beginners, but to take you from where you are to the next level, to where you want to be according to your goals in beekeeping. So I do encourage that you read that book. Don't let the title fool you. It's for every beekeeper. Our intuition is really what drives beekeeping and makes it fun. And though science definitely helps us with beekeeping as well, it can only go so far. And I say we use a little bit of all of it. Why not? So, don't forget to tell your friends about the Hive Doctor. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Drop me one of these.